It's Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show. We're live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here at 5th and State. And let's have a chat about medical insurance, health care. It is one of those things that gets people, nervous. But to bring our stress level down, we have Sadie, Prescott, Emily Williams here from Hilling-Pfeffer Insurance, the healthcare division, and they're specialists in Medicare and also, health insurance all over the place. Ladies, good to see you. Appreciate you coming on. All righty, so we're in February. That means what? Is open enrollment, or should I call it annual enrollment, is that over yet?
So it can depend upon which facet of insurance you're talking about to what you would call it.
Okay.
But so you would think right now that kind of it's our slow time because it's February. Open enrollments are typically done, you would think, for places. Okay. That may not be the case. It depends upon what the company does. For Penny's open enrollment, it's typically done at this point. So now you need what's called a life event. That can be a birth, death, divorce, a big major life change. That can open up your insurance again, because if you get divorced, you're going to want to make that change.
Even changing jobs is a life event, right?
Yes. Loss of coverage.
Yeah. So what you're saying, like with something like Penny, which is the state exchange, you can jump in if you lose your coverage from your former employer.
Any facet of insurance, not just Penny.
Okay.
That's group insurance, that's individual insurance, which is Penny, or supplemental, or Medicare. It's any insurance. If you're having a life event, that birth, death, divorce, loss of coverage, it opens up your choices again. Whether or not you take advantage of that, up to you, but it's open to you.
How often do people end up having, I think the worst thing, the scariest thing that I would think of is having a gap in my health insurance. Does that happen at all, Sadie?
It does. It happens probably, more than you would think, because things change. Sometimes somebody does not renew their insurance or doesn't go in and call a Medicare provider that they can turn around and talk to our advisor, and then all of a sudden their plans change, and then they're supposed to get notified via the mail. And if, sometimes the mail doesn't always make it, so you don't have that letter, and all of a sudden they don't have coverage. And they find out because they were going to go to the doctor. Okay. And then they call kind of in a panic. And, let's say that it was, the 10th, they call, we can't get them signed up until the 1st of the following month.
Oh, wow.
So they, that's when you're playing that little bit of a risk game. Hopefully that nothing happens in that time frame. There is some safety nets in place for people, that
if things were to happen.
Now,
but
again, you should be able to, if you're smart about it and talk to you guys, you could ask your former employer to be able to jump on like Cobra for a while. Until, like, let's say if you have a 90-day waiting period, which I don't even know if employers do that anymore. Because
absolutely,
some do.
They still do, yeah. Mm-hmm. But if you have that 90-day waiting period, you can maybe stay on the Cobra
or Penny could be an option.
Okay, you can have a short term like that?
Yes. Yeah. If you don't have coverage in that time, you don't have coverage in that time.
So you would jump on Penny for just a very short period?
You could.
Okay. Let's talk about, let's say I have insurance. But I was kind of lackadaisical looking at the provider list. What happens when it's my doc that I've had, for 25 years for my diverticulitis, and I'm not meaning to make a joke, but
But he was in your network, and now
it was in my network, and now it's not. What do you do?
So hopefully you should know that well in advance. His office should be telling you about that change as well as your insurance if that's somebody you're seeing. Hopefully you bring it up during open enrollment and we can kind of get ahead of it, is the hope, which we love. If not, it can depend, and you may be stuck without him for a period of time.
So you should, if we're talking to our insurance agent, we should really bring our list of providers to us, right? Our pharmacists,
Absolutely.
specialists and our PCP, right?
Yes, if you're talking Medicare, absolutely, those are questions that we put in. They also do it in Penny, but even as you're going through your open enrollments with your employer, those are questions that you can ask whoever comes into your place of work as well. Not only just to give people a little heads up for what they're doing, not with us, but even just in general.
And same thing with like when you talk about Medicare supplements. If you add dental, vision, again, that optician that you've been going to forever, you want to see if they're going to take your coverage.
We find it easiest to almost work backwards in that case.
Tell me how that works.
So when it comes to dental specifically, dental has been very interesting. Is probably the politest way I can put this. It's been a pain point. But when someone comes to me and they're specifically looking for dental insurance, my first question is, okay, do you have an office, a provider that you already like to work with? I love when the answer is yes or no, because if you tell me yes and you tell me it's Joe Schmo on 2nd Street, I then call his office and then say, okay, what insurances do you accept?
And then you're going to point your client to that.
It's the easiest way to already work with who your dentist office accepts. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you can't always do that, and you are stuck with what you're stuck with.
Well, I've
like
noticed, too,
health.
you got to buy the right dental plan, too.
Absolutely.
Because some are limited network or some are PPO where they'll pay pretty much everywhere.
Correct. Right? That's in knowing those terms, EPO, PPO, those are things that,
DMO, there's a new one.
They don't, people don't know that.
Where's DMO?
It's like a specific dental.
We have not come across that one
Yeah.
yet.
The PPO is the biggest thing if people, because it's hard. There's not, every dental office is different for who they take for insurance. Mm-hmm. It's very rare that I can pull up and see more than 6 different Erie dental offices on the same plan.
Yeah, we're starting to get where our providers are retiring. Right.
Absolutely.
And so
we're seeing that with dermatologists right now.
Yeah, exactly. So the networks are shrinking. Yeah. Off the air, we'll talk.
It's one of those that, you need to, track what you've got going on, who you're seeing, and what they take for insurances, and also work backwards yourself.
We're talking to our friends from Hilling-Pfeffer, Sadie and Emily. Networks, again, in this area, there's some predominant networks that you work with, right? I mean,
so not to toot our own horn, this is where it can be important that you're talking with somebody who understands the Erie area. We have Hammett and St. Vincent hospitals. That's 2 insurance companies that own hospitals. So our networks are incredibly important because traditionally and typically we see Aetna goes more towards UPMC, Highmark towards St. Vincent. There can be overlap, crossover, but traditionally and typically that's what we see. So if you are someone who already is set up and you like your UPMC doctors, you don't really want to change, why would we put you on a Highmark plan though?
Right, yeah.
There could be reasons for it. I'm no way, shape, or form saying that there is not. But typically, we'd lean more towards Aetna for you.
So what about UPMC health plan? Is that something that you sell as well? Okay.
Aetna gives you the wider coverage.
My question, again, this is just a quick rabbit trail. Has it been more interesting now that the big national guys have kind of boomed into this market? This used to be Highmark UPMC, and they had 90% of the business. Now you've got United Health, and you have Aetna, and
you have Devoted, you have WellCare, you have Humana. So a client just most recently made a kind of an interesting comment to me. UPMC has been moving more and more into the Cleveland area. We're seeing the Cleveland, Ohio insurances come more and more into our area.
That's interesting.
I believe there's one called Jefferson something. I'm not getting that name correctly, but there is definitely Devoted that's coming down from Ohio.
Well, it'd be easy, like if you want to go to a specialist in Pittsburgh, you got UPMC and you've got AHN, right? Mm-hmm. But what if you want to go to Cleveland Clinic? Is that covered a lot of ways?
It can depend on your plan. We do come across that question quite a bit. To say that you could go to Cleveland Clinic and see any doctor within Cleveland Clinic, most likely not. It's easiest for us to double check doctors and specialties.
So a limited network within the clinic, basically.
I don't mean that. Yeah. I just mean I find it rare that you'll probably have access to the entire Cleveland Clinic network.
So there's 2 different, so it depends on which we're talking about. If we're talking, Penny, individual health insurance, if we're talking Medicare.
Yeah.
That's two totally different things. PPOs on the Penny side, on your individual health insurance, that gives you the option of going where you want to, in network and out of network. And that's, asking someone if they take your insurance is a big difference from asking if they're in network.
Gotcha.
So there's some key terms that we need to have people using to make sure they don't hit, the maximum out of pockets that are on their plans, things like that can be very important.
I'm sure that your clients are very price sensitive, and let's talk about, they're going to probably gravitate to the cheapest plan, but it's not always the best plan, is it?
No. A lower premium can oftentimes come with higher deductibles or higher copays, or a more limited network. In our office, we kind of refer to those as the better safe than sorry catastrophic kind of people. The people who are planning on not seeing the doctor as regular because they're younger. Typically, they don't have as much health going on, and they don't see any accidents upcoming. Of course, we can never see those coming, but.
So you get the catastrophic low premium, but if you need it, it'll
Correct.
be there.
There's 90% of the time, those would be young men.
Okay.
They don't go to the doctors as much. They,
The super glue and duct tape.
Yeah, we call them duct tape and super glue because a lot of guys don't go unless unless it's a real emergency. They don't go to the doctors. We try to inform people that you should have things checked when you don't feel well, but at the same time, if they're not going to go, we're not going to put them in a plan that may cost $500 a month when they're never going to use it, and then it just doesn't make sense. So that's why sitting down, having an individual conversation, whether it be the Medicare side of things, to make sure that that's the best plan for that person. People can go on and do their own thing when it comes to Penny, but you have to understand what you're signing up for. And that's where, health insurance, even at your work, understand what you're signing up for and use it to the best of your ability.
What's a good strategy for a young person then? Again, you're not planning on using it. You're not on maintenance meds. You might get that checkup once a year. Now's
the time to learn about insurance. I'd say that's one pitfall I had in my life, is that I turned 26. No offense, Mom. We weren't in the insurance game yet.
Right, yeah.
She said, figure it out. And I remember sitting down and having the plans side by side, and I was like, I don't understand the differences between these. So take advantage of that time that typically if you're on a group plan working somewhere, that typically they have somebody come in and will sit down with you and explain it. Ask your silly questions there. Or there's really no silly questions. All the teachers would probably be telling me right now over the air.
Silly questions.
But go ask those questions and try to understand it now, so then later in life, it's not as complicated.
Yeah. It's really important, too, to think about preventative care. Again,
absolutely.
Even that young person, that 26-year-old, probably should get their blood drawn once a year, right?
Absolutely. There's a lot of different things that they're now coming up with, and I just saw something the other day about that a young man died on an ice hockey player that was very young that passed away, but he had a heart condition, and they never. You don't normally have, kids having echoes or anything like that. And, you put your heart through some stress when you're playing sports. And we see that with kids. Since we had the shutdown and things like that, there's been other things that have come up. We have younger and younger people. I know of 26-year-olds that have had heart attacks and strokes, which is not a common thing. And maybe it's because I see so many people that we are hearing more and more about that. But those are the things that, we try and put in place, which kind of leads us to another topic of the supplemental benefits that can go along with your health care that are so important. Having those screenings, blood test. We start doing that at an older age. I think when we start having colonoscopies, those types of things. But even some of this at the younger ages, you can get a cancer policy, and it actually pays you a benefit to go and have some type of a cancer screening.
Okay.
Which is a wonderful thing, because it's making sure that you're taking care of yourself. It's making sure that, not just you, but if you have a family member on it, if you're, married, have a spouse, they're also being looked after as well, which is huge. Those yearly wellness checks that sometimes we put off, are very important for that kind of stuff.
let's go to the opposite side of the spectrum. You've got a family, young kids. You might need to go to a pediatrician. You might need to go to a children's hospital. Does that get dicey in making sure who's in network, who's not? I mean,
it certainly informs your decision and what decisions you make going forward. Some of this you can kind of pre-plan, so you could use that open enrollment time period when you have access to an agent that is incredibly knowledgeable about your plan. It's a perfect time to say, hey, if I got pregnant, what would that look like for me throughout the year? Or am I limited to a number of doctors that I can go see? We're a little bit unique in Erie that we have typically one obstetrics, sorry, that was a little mouthful, center that technically doesn't play in either network.
Interesting.
It's a very interesting one.
They technically take both insurances. They're very much an independent.
Okay.
Which we won't go down that rabbit
Right,
hole of
yeah.
things, but but each hospital also has its own
They're
division
employees
of
of
that.
OBGYN.
Correct.
yeah.
Of the that field.
Mm-hmm.
So it just depends what you want to do. It's a very interesting.
And you're certainly
I
going
mean,
to be
if-
seeing more doctors as they're young kids or as you're pregnant. So going with a higher level plan that accounts for that is something you'll just want to take into account.
It's amazing. Again, I'm like a data geek, so I get thrilled by this kind of conversation. But if you were at all like sensitive about all these things and get worried about all these things, this would put you over the edge. I feel like.
Well, these are
It
private
does.
conversations.
Sadie's like, it does.
I had a mom that called me this year who was absolutely in a panic. And I'm like, it's okay. We'll get you through it.
Yeah.
We will get you through it. Just put a little bit of faith in me, and let's go line by line, and we'll figure it out. And she has probably called me 3 times since then. Had another question,
Yeah.
but then has thanked me more than once because it put her at peace knowing that there was somebody, because she had no idea how to do any of this. And that's what we're here for. It's what we enjoy doing. We enjoy meeting the people, but we also enjoy making sure that people understand. And it's very hard when we get people that now it's past the time for them, or we can't do something. We can't find that dental network because they've missed out on their open enrollment time or different things like that. It makes it tough for us because we just feel bad.
We've just got like a minute or two left with Sadie and Emily from Hilling-Pfeffer. I want to ask again, let's go back to Medicare, because one of the big things with Medicare is that if you're turning 65, there's no open enrollment. You have to sign up within 3 months before or after your birthday, right? So what's the game plan? Give us a game plan, Sadie. I mean,
So start looking into it before 65. You're more than welcome to give our office a call, and we can sit down with you. We can go over what you currently have, what your plan is for retirement, if that's what you're doing, or if you just have questions because you're going to keep working. And maybe you have questions about that. Should you keep that health plan because your employer is letting you keep it, or they're saying nope, when you turn 65 you have to go a different direction. There's multiple options. And the thing is to start prepping for it beforehand. That's where Emily is phenomenal when it comes to knowing the different, Erie School District has different plans and different things. The state employees have different plans. So if you are, veterans have different plans. There's a lot of different things. So anybody that falls into those categories, it's not just as easy as signing up. And you want to have somebody who specializes in doing that and is willing to dig in and get that knowledge for you, because there's sometimes you need certain things, there's sometimes you don't. So that planning ahead of time and making sure that you know what you're getting into and know what your options are.
all right, folks are yelling at the radio. How do I get a hold of these ladies? So give us the whole connection there.
We've got the main office just around the corner from you. It's at 332 Holland Street, Hilling-Pfeffer, and the phone number is 814-870-3109.
And they'll connect you to
Yes.
to your place there up on State. That's
Up on
very
State.
cool. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Well, Emily and Sadie, again, we learn so much every time you come, and again, this we don't need to stress because we have you.
No stress.
Come talk to somebody.
Come talk to somebody. Get the stress out of your system here. Thank you, ladies, so much here.
Thank you.
It is 4 minutes or 5 minutes in front of the hour.